Hello, everybody. Welcome to Casual Cactus. I am your DM, Keith. Yep, that's me. And we are here. Hopefully, you guys can hear us. We had a little problem with that last time. But we are here to give you guys an inside look into our D&D gaming sessions. We have a very, very, very large group, and we're going to get started with our session zeros running our Tomb of Annihilation run. I've instituted a few things here that are going to make it a little bit more hardcore for these guys. Everyone here has died already once. And if you don't know anything about Tomb of Annihilation, that seems a little odd, but everyone who has died and been resurrected is now under the death curse. They are wasting away. They are losing vitality and hit points every day. And so the clock is ticking on these guys, and we've got to get them into the adventure. We're starting off with a pared down version of the party. We have 3 players for you here for this particular session. We'll have some more coming in later, but for right now we've got. Oh, it's not working. It's not switching scenes for me. Ah! Technology. I don't know how this is gonna work here, guys. So there we go. We've got all the way to the left there for you guys is Danny.
Hello.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a stage.
And in the center is Steven. And all the way to the right is Braden.
Hello.
And so we're going to take a few minutes here. And we're actually going to go back down the line the other direction because Braden, we're going to start with you.
Oh, good. Good.
It's Waterdeep, the city that you know well. You've grown up in, you've lived in for a good long while.
Never went through it.
Well, never winter,
Yeah.
but
But for a larger chunk of my life.
For a larger
I've lived here.
for a larger chunk of your life, you've lived here in Waterdeep,
Yes.
the chapter house of the Blood Hunters Guild.
Yes. I am playing a blood hunter, by the way, to the audience.
Look him up, Matt Mercer's Blood Hunters. The chapter house has been a little cold lately. Not temperature-wise. Everyone who's there has just been shunning you.
Yeah.
Well, most everyone.
Yeah,
Most everyone. There was some ugly business prior to where we're picking up.
Yes.
And you have been blamed for that.
Absolutely.
And so it's been tough. The last couple of months have been really, really tough on you. You've kept yourself busy doing research, as you are wont to do. You've kept yourself out of sight of a lot of people, and so that has blunted a good portion of the ostracism that you've been experiencing. But it's still there. You still know that you're on everybody's shit list.
Of course.
Well, almost everybody. There's one person, the head of your order, knows that there's no way you had anything to do with the break-in.
Right.
She is your saving grace, your patron saint, as it were, here within the order. And she's been doing her best to protect you. You're a little bit surprised then when Zorana calls you out of your studies in the library and calls you to her office. She's a striking woman, very tall, very regal.
A lot of people are tall.
Yeah, well, yes, of course, of course. And she wears the weight of authority visibly and well. There are very few who make the mistake more than once of trying to cross her.
Of course.
There are a few foolish individuals who will do so once. Very, very few very, very foolish people do it more
I've
than
seen
once.
it done once before, and I don't want to see it.
Exactly. Just take a moment here for those of us at the table and those of us on the stream to give us just sort of a brief description of your character.
I'm playing Elias Bloodstone. I am a hill dwarf blood hunter. He is kind of wearing somewhat scholarish clothes in the essence of, think kind of Indiana Jones with the hat as well. I'm well known for wearing my hat around the organization. I've got brown long hair and a brown beard with a few streaks of gray going through it. Probably the one striking part of my physique is my arm ends about right here.
Okay.
And then the rest is skeletal and has a slight blue aura, as it is part of a transformation that happened a while ago.
Okay. All right. So Zarana calls you into her office, and as she's sitting there, or as you enter, she's standing behind her desk, peering out one of the windows out over the city of Waterdeep. It's a grayish sort of day, kind of cool this time of year. You hear the slight peal of thunder as a storm is rolling in off of the ocean. And there is sort of this ominous air lying over the city. You know that for the last week or so, the entire city has been buzzing with rumors and speculation about something that is happening everywhere. It seems as though there is a worldwide curse in effect. Anyone, adventurers, common folk, nobility, poor, doesn't matter. Anyone who has, in the course of their life, died and been revived, has started to waste away.
Including myself.
In yourself included, yes. You began to notice it yourself as it wasn't a noticeable thing at first, but you started to get a little bit winded, a little bit easier about a week ago, and you started to see where the wound in your side was that you took when fighting the
demon war.
The demon war. The wound returned. It had healed over completely when you were revived, but it returned, and as the days passed, it started to fester, and it started to show signs of being a blood hunter, knowing about blood maledicts. It seemed like blood poisoning was pouring out from this wound. Your veins were starting to become darker and blacker, and it was starting to spread out all over, and you started to feel that weakening, and that it was almost as if your soul was being siphoned out of your body through this wound.
Yeah.
So you know that's going on, and you know that it has weighed heavily on Zarana. As you enter, again, she's looking out over the city, and she
I'll
seems
take my hat off respectfully.
she seems not to notice you at first, and it's a very long moment until she turns around and acknowledges your presence. She looks over her shoulder at you, and giving one last glance at the city, she turns around and leans heavily on the desk in front of her. I'm not sure how much longer I can shield you here.
I figured as much.
Under ordinary circumstances, you know I would pull out all the stops. I would spend whatever little power I have outside these walls and the considerable power I have within them to protect you. I know that you were wronged by what happened.
Well, stuff happens.
She smiles.
Light a cigarette and start smoking it.
You do have a way with words. Unfortunately, with the events everywhere, and she sort of gestures expansively as if to say, the world is going to hell. I must marshal every ounce of authority I have to face this threat. As it happens, I have been presented with an option that might, what is that quaint phrase? Might kill two birds with one stone.
How so?
She stands up straight. It seems that the source of the death curse has been identified. Or, at very least, the region has been identified. The land of Schultz. Do you know of this place?
I'm just gonna
Roll a history check.
History check. That's a 2.
That would be a no.
Okay.
You've heard of it, at least. It's a land far to the south, supposed to be very exotic. Not a lot of people that go there ever return. Under normal circumstances, you would consider that ominous enough. With the threat of the death curse,
Right.
it's enough to send your spine shivering just a little bit.
Well, I haven't been down that. I haven't been that far south. So, no. Oh yeah. All right.
Awesome. Love it. Well, as it happens, one of our order has been poking around down there on unrelated business and has returned to offer some small insight into the continent. He needs a bit of assistance as well down there, and doesn't seem too picky about who goes with him. No offense.
Perfectly fine.
I'm assigning you to go with him. He has also put in a request for slightly more arcane backup, but I'll let him explain all of that
Right.
later. Do you have any questions for me?
Not at the moment, but well, I guess you'll give me something to do while I'm dying.
I would hope that your something to do will keep a lot of people from dying.
I hope so too.
Gather your things. You can meet you can meet your partner, let's say, in the Great Hall after lunch.
All right.
I assume at that point you're going. She turns her back. She goes back to the window, clearly in dismissal,
Yeah.
and I assume that you're going to go and
Yes.
do as she says.
I
Okay.
go to my room, which has been vandalized a couple of times.
There's some fresh there's some fresh graffiti on the wall
Yeah.
that wasn't there this morning.
I gather all of my equipment,
Okay.
and then I head to the Great Hall.
Okay. At first, you're not real sure who you're supposed to be looking for. Zorana was true to form, a little sparse on the details. But as you come down, you see that there really is only one possible person it could be. And only because he's the only one who's not really looking at you with any sort of, expression at all, any sort of heat or hatred or anything. In fact, he's not even looking at you at all. It's kind of hard to tell who and what he is, because even indoors, he's wearing his cloak and he's got the hood pulled up. His back is to you, so all you see is the back of the hood. If you didn't know you were meeting a male, you wouldn't know to even say he. His figure is very much obscured by what he's wearing. And what he's wearing is a little bit odd. It is a cloak, but where most of the cloaks that you're familiar with tend toward muted, sort of earthy colors, almost camouflage, this cloak has got about every color of the rainbow you can imagine on it.
Okay.
Lots of bright patterns, very natural patterns, but lots of bright patterns on it. And it's very foreign, very almost. It's not from around here, clearly.
Okay. I approach.
As you approach, the head sort of cocks up, and the figure spins on his heels. He throws the hood back, revealing a purple-skinned tiefling.
Molly? Sorry.
Oh.
He's got tattoos.
What really is Molly?
Oh, it is Molly. Oh, okay.
Well played, DM. Well played.
Well played, GM. Well played. Do I know who Molly is?
No.
Okay.
No, you don't know.
Okay.
Remind me what your name is. I'm sorry.
Elias.
Elias. Okay. I will remember names as we
Yeah,
go, I'm
eventually,
sure.
Eventually.
Eventually. So you're Elias, I assume.
Yes.
Got your shit?
Yeah.
Let's go then.
All right.
And he flings the hood back up and turns. And as he puts the hood up, the rest of it sort of flashes open, and you see a wound very similar to yours right in the center of his chest. Again, it looks like it has started to fester, and it's got the blood poisoning seeping out from it into his body. And he turns and very quickly, without saying another word, walks out of the chapter
I
house.
follow him.
Okay. The day has not much improved outside. It is still very gloomy, very cloudy. There's a threat of rain in the air. Thunder again is still rolling in off of the sea, as the two of you make your way through the city of Waterdeep to what you know, what you've been told at least, is the Mages Academy. It's a wide swath of land. surrounded on all sides by rather mundane defenses, actually. You would have expected all sorts of arcane wardings and magical energy fields and defenses that are not of this world. And that's not the case at all. It's very, very plain, very mundane. There's a gate with guards. The wall encircles the entire grounds, and you can just see over the top of the wall as you approach a relatively short 2 or 3 story building with a slate roof and relatively plain construction. Your compatriot, who is yet to give you a name, in fact, marches right up to the guards. He nods at them. They nod back as though they are expecting him.
Okay.
And the two of you pass right through with no muss, no fuss, right into the grounds. Inside the walls, the sounds of the city fade away to literally nothing. Looking back over the walls, you know that there were several rather tall buildings around the perimeter of this enclave. Looking back, you don't see them.
No.
The sky above your head is clear and blue.
Wizardy goo or something like that.
That's the best that you can describe it as. Is yes, something magical is happening here.
Yeah.
The building in front of you, that from the outside appeared to be 2 or 3 stories, rather plain construction, has, well, it's not there. In its place is a tall, like arrow straight tower of the whitest alabaster you have ever seen. It is just gleaming white in the sunlight, and it's actually it almost hurts your eyes to look at it. You have no idea how you missed that building from across the walls, except to say magic-y stuff.
Magic stuff.
Your compatriot walks right up to the base of the tower, to a blank spot in the wall, and passes right through it.
I follow, I guess.
You attempt to follow and run face first into the wall,
Oh.
and we'll come back to you.
Okay.
You have to believe.
You don't think I don't believe?
Pyre. Sploof is with you again. The little goblin just won't go away at all. Sploof,
Yes.
your best friend Pyre is right there.
My first apprentice, yes.
So the two of you are just finishing your midday meal when you are summoned to the headmaster's office.
After you.
Of course, but stick close to my heels.
I will walk very slowly. After you.
Just realize I'm going to have to hear that for who knows how many hours. Gosh dang it.
Well, you've got the speech impediment, so you know.
I asked if you guys
Potato,
would be
potato.
enjoying this.
We'll see. Yeah, that's what I'm going.
So the two of you are ushered up to the headmaster's office. There is you were expecting a solitary person. You were expecting just the headmaster. You find that the full council has been assembled. 10 of the most powerful wizards in all of Faerun in one room. And the two of you and a figure in the shadows with his hood pulled up.
With all of these people on our side, we could easily rule the world.
The headmaster turns and looks down his quite long nose at Sploof. And you're not real sure. Of course, Sploof, roll an insight check for me.
Bad. Let's see.
You can as well if you'd like, Pyre.
Space. Well
Nat
done.
20.
Good stuff. Like I said, this one
Hey,
real,
two brothers.
This one really likes two.
I can guarantee that it always lands on 2.
Okay, so your attention, Pyre, is all on your short companion and the shadowy figure in the corner. Sploof, you're not real sure why the headmaster is so amused by you, but he's amused by you.
Well, this is odd.
I have called you here because you are, in some ways, our brightest students.
Of course.
In some ways. And the task we have for you requires your unique set of skills. No doubt both of you have heard the rumors emanating from the south.
Quite.
Oh, that's right.
We have been approached. We have been approached by a member of another organization, shall we say, who is mounting an expedition to Schult. This individual and this organization have asked us to send assistance, and we felt that it would behoove us to send you.
Our potential is finally being recognized.
And we're being removed. Perhaps not unwisely.
It's not like that, Miss Young. Mr. Youngman. Yes. You get the sense that he started to use your name, but he doesn't actually know it.
You.
We, the council, simply feel that we do need boots on the ground, as it were. And he looks pointedly down at your feet, which are, of course, bare at the moment. Figuratively speaking, of course.
I knew that.
So, we have agreed to send you with him to Port Nyanzaru, at very least. We know not where else on the continent your travels may take you, but we have a small foothold there that you might find useful.
The small foothold being a branch of the...
Of course.
Who might I look for there?
You will know when you find them.
Well then, may I ask with what means we will be traveling?
Yes. We will be making use of one of the traveling circles here at the school.
Good. Thank you.
We shall not disappoint you.
We hope that you will not. Time is of the essence, and your actions could well impact all of the world.
We're all dead.
Sploof,
Yes?
do try to do good.
Why would I do that?
Go.
Flourish and bow. Apprentice!
I just make eye contact.
Death stare or why?
You did this to me.
He breaks the gaze and he looks to the figure in the corner and nods to him. As the two of you leave the room, make me a perception check, please.
That's
A lot better than the last one.
yeah.
Okay, I'm not making this up.
Well done.
Other than 20.
What dice are you using?
I used this one the first time and the other one the
Yes.
second time. Apparently, they're both happy with me tonight.
23.
23. Okay, so a natural 20 and a 23. Of course, you were kind of expecting it. As the two of you leave the room, Sploof, you hear a third set of footsteps falling in behind you. Looking over your shoulder, you see a cloaked figure in a very, very colorful, ostentatious cloak. Peering deep into it, you can see the golden eyes of a tiefling, and you can very, very sort of faintly make out the fact that he is purple and tattooed.
Would I be familiar with tieflings? Are there very many about?
You're familiar with them. There are not many about, but the ones they cut a striking figure, and so they're typically recognized wherever they go, and they're not always greeted fondly, which is why you kind of figure he's got the hood up.
Ooh, you aren't a pinky at all, are you?
No, and neither are you.
Why, no, I am not.
No.
I knew a knot once.
I have red skin.
Oh, okay. So we just have this thing
Oh,
going on.
Genasi.
Oh, that's right, Genasi.
I presume you are from the. What did he say? The other order?
Yes, I'm a blood hunter.
Empire.
I'd give you a name, but I don't really remember mine. It's a long story.
That's unfortunate.
You're telling me.
Meanwhile, May I call you?
Well, there was a note where I woke up that said my name was Molly. So, for lack of a better term or a better name, you can just call me that.
Well met, Molly.
And you're Pyre, and I think the old guy in there called you Sploof.
I am the great and powerful Sploof.
Right. I think I'm just gonna stick to Sploof.
Very.
So the three of you by this point have reached what you know to be the outer wall, the entrance, as it will, to the Great Tower, which is where all of the training that you've had up till now has taken place. It's not weird to you, but you haven't ascended or descended any stairs to get to the entryway, but you know that the council chamber is at the very tallest level of the tower. Magic. Magic-y, magic-y, magic. The three of you pass through the barrier into the grounds, and as you do see a dwarf standing somewhat at attention by the side of the wall.
No, more of leaning against the wall, being like, just waiting.
For a dwarf, that's standing at attention, right?
You have a little
I know.
Prestidigitation.
Yeah, the blood's gone.
Oh, okay. And what do I see when I look upon
Please describe
our
yourselves.
two experts?
X.
Yeah, experts.
Birds.
So I'm fairly tall. My skin's a light red. My hair also is a fairly light red. It moves sort of its own accord, regardless of the wind. I wear a high-collared a tunic, for lack of a better word, with a half cape that goes down my left side. In my right hand, I carry a white waxwood staff, atop which is a crystal, probably not very expensive, but it's a large chunk of quartz that's sort of inside the wood. The wood covers much of the crystal. And then ingrained in the staff is little black lines of maybe stone or something, and wrapped around the whole top, just underneath the crystal, is a long strip of leather, upon which there's writing across the whole thing. Otherwise, I wear fairly fancy clothes and have pointy shoes.
Okay.
Thank you, pointy shoes.
And as I look upon the other one,
I am significantly shorter and very green. I am a goblin. I have robes that are very ill-fitted to me. They look more like... They look a bit more like they were made for maybe a large child and not a small goblin. And so the bottoms are dragging on the floor, but they are like a dark midnight bluish color with silver and gold stars and moons embroidered into the fabric, and a very tall, very wizardy looking hat that kind of swallows my head. And I have a very enthusiastic looking rat on my shoulder.
okay.
Everything about me looks a little like I'm too over
I have to
enthusiastic
do with?
about things.
And at that, I'm going to snap and call Imperius, and call down my owl, snowy white owl,
Okay.
who sits on the opposite shoulder of the cape, because I can't have that getting dirty.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right. So the tiefling sort of turns to you. So you're from around here. Where's the circle?
Do I actually know where the circle might be?
You've got a rough idea where it is on the grounds. You've never had the opportunity to use it, at least not that you know of.
Fair enough.
But you do have sort of a rough idea. They keep it away from the main the central tower. Can't have
Somebody teleport me.
can't have somebody teleporting in without without guards around it. So yeah.
I'm going to think for a moment, and I'm going to say, Sploof, why don't you lead us?
I would be happy to. Of course, I mean, I should know where all of these things go.
And I charge forward, not actually knowing.
If
all
it's
that
anywhere but
well.
where we're supposed to be going, I'm just going to lead towards where we're actually supposed to go.
I've been given a walking fireball and someone with a stick up his butt as companions. Wonderful.
Sploof. Roll me. Just roll me a straight d20.
That one.
Sploof is going exactly the wrong direction,
But with confidence.
but with confidence.
And I'm I'm going to send Imperius to go follow her and bring to follow him and bring him back.
Okay.
After a little bit, though.
Okay. So Sploof heads off one direction. You're gonna lead off exactly the opposite direction. Which one are you following?
This one probably
Okay.
knows what he's doing.
Okay. And yeah, Molly's gonna follow you as well. So after a couple of minutes, Sploof, actually roll me a perception check.
Well, let's hope it's better than a nat 1 this time. Oh, this is 6.
2 20s and a 1.
Two 20s and a 1, and
The
you
good
said
start.
perception?
Perception.
Oh, my perception's a -1. 5!
Can't believe it took you that long.
So it takes you a full 5 minutes before you realize nobody is following you except that bird. And once you realize it, you sort of look up and the bird sits down on your shoulder, tugs at your ear as though to say, you want to go this way.
Very well, bird friend. Bring me to my minions.
You've never heard a bird sigh before, but this one did. And it takes off and flies off ahead of you back in the direction that you came from. The rest of you reach a small, shack in a far off corner of the grounds of the academy. Not much to look at from the outside. Looks like a good stiff breeze might blow it over at any time. As you go to walk in, though, it's very much like walking into the TARDIS. It's a lot bigger on the inside. It's a lot better kept. It's, again, magic. There are 2 guards. One faces the circle, weapons at the ready. The other faces out the door, also weapons at the ready. As you step in, they see you, and they see Sploof. Well, they don't see Sploof. They see you, and they give you a nod, and they look over your companions. Just sort of a cursory glance. You get the sense that they've been told to expect them.
There's one more coming with my owl.
Of course, we shall hold off on the ritual until your entire party is here.
Meanwhile, you are?
Oh, Elias Blunstone. Archaeologist.
Pleasure, I'm sure. So I'm gonna then quietly prestidigitate my hand and clean that back off.
Of course. And to note, does not like to get dirty. We can use this.
So I assume that you have some sort of specialty you were bringing to our party,
Yes.
and that would be?
I specialize in ancient evil things. Specifically, ritual sites.
What?
Don't start, or else I'm not going to stop. Ritual sites. Ancient evil artifacts. And just evil in general. It's kind of my general basis.
Very well. You may perhaps be of use yet. Where is my bird?
So familiar?
Mhm.
Okay. You start to feel right at the very edge of your range. You start to feel your bird flying, none too swiftly towards you. So, yeah.
Maybe we're picking him up. No matter. Well, what do you know of what we're going into? And Molly, Molly? Molly,
Shame
please.
is Molly.
Please, if you have any more information, it would be welcomed?
Well, I don't know a lot. All I know is that about a week ago, the entire continent of Schult became impossible to scry. The entire continent. Now, I'm not one for magic. I assume that's sort of more your cup of tea. But I would assume that takes a lot of power to be able to do that.
Certainly does.
Before it became impossible to sort of look at the continent and figure out what was going on, this whole death curse thing sort of kicked in. And, well, and he sort of pulls open his shirt and shows off the wound that has started to fester and started to sort of eat away at his chest. I don't know about the rest of you, but I kind of want this shit turned off as quick as we can.
Shame.
Yeah.
Sploof.
At this point, Sploof walks through the door.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, this is one way that you could have gotten here.
I look at the guards. It's like,
Very vigilant of you. You will make excellent, excellent warriors for my armies.
You can see the guard trying to stifle a grin.
So, why are we here?
This is where we teleport.
Oh, that's right.
Well, I haven't done one of these in a while.
So I suppose we are all gathered.
Indeed. And so the guard that has been facing the circle, who has not turned around at all at this point, goes and puts his weapons away, steps towards the circle, and starts to mutter some incantations. He's also making gestures in the air. The two of you follow the magical energies that he's drawing out, and follow the incantation somewhat. It's a little bit more advanced than you guys have gotten to just yet, but the foundations of what he's doing at least make sense. You got no idea what
Mustard,
the hell
cheese,
what the heck's going on.
anchovy, You know, that kind of...
It sounded an awful lot like at one point he was doing math, but the math was 2 + 4 = purple.
yeah. It's a lot easier to read.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to read it. It's really, really weird. The runes that have been inscribed on the stone floor of the chamber that you're in begin to glow with arcane energy. You're not real sure how to describe it, because 1 minute there's just this line that pops up from the center of the circle, and then it rotates, and it's a gate. And if you look around the side of it, there's nothing on the back side of the gate to even indicate that it's there. It is only visible from one side. But on the other side, you see another chamber very similar to the one that you're in. 2 more guards, one facing towards you, weapons drawn, dressed very similarly to the guards on this side. And you feel hot, moist air rolling through the gateway. Very humid, very muggy, and the smells that waft through are not familiar to any of you. Very sort of floral, very plant, earthy. It's hard to place because you don't have a frame of reference for it. Well, friends, shall we go?
Of After you.
All right then. And he turns and he walks, and Molly walks through the gate.
My fearless leader, after you.
Excellent. Don't be long.
So you're following Molly through.
Yes.
I'll step forward.
You'll step through as well.
So
Pyre?
I'm trying to memorize as much of like the teleportation circle as I can as I'm walking through.
Okay. Make me an Arcana check.
That did not suck.
No. 18.
18. You didn't get all of it, but you've got a good bit of it, and you think you might possibly be able to, at some point, recreate the parts that you do know.
Okay.
So the three of you step through with Molly leading you. As you open the door and step out onto what you can only assume are the grounds of the Mage Academy in Schult, the inside was muggy. The outside is like stepping into a swimming pool. So much humidity. It's clammy. It clings. It's just so. I mean, it's hot. It is so beyond anything that you ever experienced before in the north.
This is
So much
disgusting.
moisture.
I love it.
Well, this is going to be fun.
Molly doesn't say a word. He leads you away from, as you turn around, he leads you away from what looks like a small step pyramid that the chamber has been built into. Leads you straight to what looks to be another blank wall surrounding the grounds here, and steps right through it.
I'll step through.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
step.
You're able to actually get through it this
Good,
time.
that's why I went first. I want to be on this side when everyone else is through.
The three of you follow Molly into a busy street. The sounds of a city assault your ears quite suddenly. The humidity remains, the heat remains, and we'll pick up later with you guys after that. So that's our first session 0. Our other players have not shown up, and I get the strangest feeling that they're not going to. So we are going to call it there for the evening. I have one more session 0 with 3, 4, 5 other players to get through. I'm not sure when we're going to be able to do that. Hopefully we'll be able to pick it up next week. Thank you very much, all of you who have tuned in to watch. I hope that you guys are liking what you see so far. Give us a like, give us a follow, and we'll pick up with this next time.
Peace.
Thank you so much.
Out.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah.